Hello, welcome to another Mythruna weekly live stream where I write bugs and you guys ask me questions. Um, Today we'll be playing around with quests and getting the data structures and stuff in place, and hopefully maybe we'll have a simple working quest tonight. We'll see. Before we get too much farther, let me thank the patrons. Thanks, you guys. It's coming up on tax season, so it's really nice to see. Um, Looks like we got one viewer on, maybe. If that's you, Oak, welcome to the thing, and let's go ahead and get started. I'll talk a little bit about what I did, this past week, and we can go over what I'm trying to get done for the January 1st release. I think I don't know if I developed this in the live stream last week or not, but this is sort of my goal for the January 1st release. And so, we're well into it, and I did, random NPC hair and skin color. Let me talk about what I did while running the game. We got some icons here. I don't know what the little blue thing is. A wave, maybe? Okay. So I did a lot of background design work since last week. I messed with, hopefully sound is coming through okay. My microphone's in a slightly different position here. We'll see. I implemented a performance routine for testing world generation, so I can actually just run a server and, for a brand new world and run a preload command, and it will preload some area around the world and measure the time it takes. And so in addition to that being just a useful command for the server if you start a new server, it gives me some performance benchmarks because I may have to change generation a little bit to save some more data with these buildings, so we know what they are and where they are and so on, and I wanted to make sure that wasn't adversely slowing down world generation. In that process, I kind of also started a server administration guide, which some point I'll flesh out. So that's sort of the watchword lately is more documentation. I've been working on my Mythruna scripting guide and fleshing that out as I go. So that'll be pretty useful someday for everyone else, and it helps keep me sane as far as making sure everything is consistent. In the game here, let me yeah. So that's what I was going to talk about next, but I wanted to make it brighter outside. Okay. So the other thing I looked at is when I was messing around with the scripts, I accidentally changed how objects get named. And so when you would do this, it would show a different name. And that caused, for any character I logged into the game with that was like that, it ended up creating a double backpack and a double inventory because it didn't realize that it had already created one. So this character right now actually has two backpacks, and I need to go back and fix that. But in the meantime, this let me, when it first started, when I first came up, they were both on top of each other like this, and so I've modified it so that they appear side by side like this. And then I was testing out to see if I could drag things from one inventory to another, and I could not, so I fixed that. Because at some point I want to be able to open and close chests. And so that's another thing I determined. This is a ginormous chest. There is there's an algorithm I use to turn a 3D volume into a 2D space that has the same total volume. Let me see if I can explain. The idea being that, inventory management's easier to do in 2D, but I still kind of wanted to have the size of the container matter. And so there's this, there it is. So there's this, if you had, so if you have a box like this, I'm going to draw a 3D box here, a container that's like this. Oops. Yeah. So kind of a rough thing like that, right? I'll go ahead and make it transparent. Okay, so you've got this box, and it's got some volume to it that's got, you know, a Y component, an X component, and a Z component. You get that, right? And so if you multiply all those together, you get the total volume. But I want to make that into a 2D shape. So what I do is I take the Y value, and I take the square root of it, so square root of Y, and then I multiply that by X and by Z. So I end up with a larger 2D area that's, you know, roughly the shape of the opening, that's big enough so that if you multiplied, you know, this by this, you get the same number as XYZ here, because you've already factored in square root of Y into X and square root of Y into Z. And so that's how I come up with the size of this. That's how I come up with the size of the things in the inventory, which is why, you know, even though these look close to the same size here, or this looks way bigger or something, anyway, in the game they may not look that way because these are scaled according to how they fit in inventory based on their similar volume calculation that turns it into a 2D shape. This is sort of my math for having 2D inventory with 3D volumes, which is sort of a long-winded way to say that this is a ginormous chest. If you calculate the volume of this area and you bring up the inventory, you know, this is your little backpack that you've got on your back. You can see the size of the backpack compared to the size of that ginormous chest. And so if we were to open that chest and have it visible here, it's actually so big that it would not fit on this screen. And so that was some interesting math to find. I've got to think about how to deal with that. I'm thinking I think I like the idea of being able to have big containers. I think the default treasure chest is probably going to be like this little one, because this is actually more like what a treasure chest would look like in real life, right? Compared to the size of these people. That is more... Somebody's binging me, so let me make sure that that's not telling me that my live stream's not working. Nope, it's a random... So yep, random unnecessary stuff. So you can see this is like a normal size treasure chest compared to these people, right? Whereas this is like ginormous, you know, shipping trunk size thing, even though, you know, comically this is the way video games would have it. Same, you know, the same video games that have a small bedroom be 10 by 10 meters. But Mythruna has to deal with scale because everything in the world matters. The size of the buildings, the interiors have to match the exteriors. These all have to... I like big chests, yeah. So, you know, realistically, this is what a treasure chest would be. Scale matters because eventually, you know, you'll create your own backpacks, and if you make a giant backpack that's, you know, above your head, you'll get blocked if you try to walk through doorways. All these things matter because everything is sort of a consistent and realistic scale. And so this treasure chest is ginormous. It would hold a body. It's big enough to hold a body. And so realistically, if you find a treasure chest in a dungeon, whoops, it's probably going to be this one. But I still want to be able to have big crates and big trunks like this. So I think what I'm going to do is make the typical treasure chest this size for loot, and have crates and boxes still have these giant inventories. But when you bring it up in this screen, basically it will scale the whole thing down so that that would still fit. So, you know, your inventory here, the backpack would be scaled down to this teeny little thing down here, and you'd have this giant crate or chest up here. And so you could move all the stuff, but it'd be very hard to see sort of details because, you know, obviously it's shrunk down. I think that's what's going to work. And that's sort of kind of realistic in the sense that probably in a giant crate like this, you don't want to put 100 little teeny items, because even in real life, that's unmanageable. You would put them into smaller boxes. And again, the eventually, like, you'll be able to put a big chest, a little chest like this inside of a big chest like this. And so if you went into the inventory, you would see in here, when you'd have this, let's say this is the treasure chest, you'd have the big treasure chest thing, and you would have another box in here where you could put stuff. And so you could organize your things together, and that would be like more realistic. So I think that's what I'm going to do. I don't know that that's going to work if it turns out that to get that thing to fit on screen, I have to shrink these down so much that you can't even use them anymore. That'll be something we have to think about. But there is a certain realism to that, the fact that probably at the giant trunk level, you're only going to be moving big items, and you're not going to be throwing this little teeny wand in the bottom to get lost forever. Anyway, that's a long way to go to say that's what I was working on in the inventory, and I got this working, and that was kind of tricky, and so that bodes well for when we can open the container part of these treasure chests, and I have to figure out how I'm going to do that. I think the workbench, if you're editing something like excuse me, I think if you're editing something like, so I'm going to have to change the add joint to be like add special, and one of the special things is a joint. Another special things is a handle. So if you're making a sword, you could add a handle to show where the player's supposed to hold it. One of the special things would be the inner volume. So if you're making a container, you could draw where you think that should go inside of this, and then the game would sort of confirm, yes, that is, at least for now, until I can write the physics stuff to automatically determine that. That will allow manually selecting sort of the inner container volume, and then it would double check to make sure it's fully enclosed and so on. I think that's what is going to happen, hopefully before the new year, as far as this stuff goes. Anyway, so back to NPCs, because we want to make quests, right? And we're already 15 minutes in. So one thing I did, this is the default human female colors for skin and hair, but I made it so that you can actually have randomized versions. So we've got here, she's pale and has like kind of a ash brown kind of color. You can also randomize, and she can be different colors, and it actually tells you like the game knows what colors these are. So she's got light skin and red hair, basically. Those other names are the names of where I got them, and that was important because I'm trying to keep track of so I found palettes of skin tones that I used, and palettes of hair colors that I used, and I can expand it. And in fact, I'm going to expand it for the elves to include flora colors and things for their hair. But so this is just when you're randomly generating a human or randomly generating an elf, these are the different colors they would use, and I can put them in big skin tone spreadsheets and hair color spreadsheets, and which races they can apply to, and so on. And I'm giving them the name that that's the internal name we use, and maybe if I was writing in-game poetry or something, that might be what I say. But generally, if one NPC was describing another NPC, this would be what they would call that. And so I'm just rambling a mile a minute here. And so in this case, when I randomized her colors, she came up with light skin and red hair. And if I do it again, randomize, now she's got brown skin and russet hair. And so I can not only give a character random traits, let me move this box out of the way, there we go. I can not only give a character random traits, but I know how to describe that. So she's got pale skin and dark brown hair. Yeah, that's realistic. Yeah, so that's reasonable. And randomize. So that's pale and brown hair. Anyway, yeah, so we've got dark brown skin, dark brown hair. This looks like a dark elf. Anyway, so what we want to do, though, today is, I think, Oak, I think you're probably my only viewer today, so it's just you and I, unless somebody else wants to speak up, but that's cool. Hope we all have good holidays and so on. So I've started building out like the test dialogue. I wanted to make sure that when the dialogue popped up, it could have like the player name in it. And so if you click here, like greeting strangers, blah, 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 like opens the conversation, right? And you can say, hi, I'm Fade. And the idea would be that then this NPC could introduce themselves if they had a name. But then she's in some trouble, so what kind of trouble? And then it would pop up the quest. And so that's where I am. I need to start building out the quest data structure. I think the MacGuffin I'm going to use for the initial quests is this lantern. Actually, I haven't imported it as an object, but I have this little lantern that I think looks kind of cool. So maybe she lost her lantern somewhere. And initially, I'm going to have her place whatever the object is really nearby so we can test quests without running all over the world. I'm all you need, buddy. That's true. I just need one person. So I'm not talking to myself. So there's a bunch of stuff I have to flesh out, and this has been... So I kind of figured when I started this that implementing quests would force me to implement a lot of things. And I really only had a feeling that that was true, but it's turned out to be really true. I'm having to address a lot of things. I'm having to address, when you approach a town, that's when I want to generate the quests, so I have to deal with that. When you approach a location where the quest is, I kind of want the game to give you a little hint down in the chat bar, that says, oh, this is that place that so-and-so told us about. So you're in the right vicinity, because the other thing is, like in a multiplayer game, I might have gotten the quest from her and another player got the quest from her, or another player already picked up the item, the MacGuffin, from where it was, and there's no way I could find it. And so if I go there, I think it would be nice if the game said, oh, this is that place that so-and-so was talking about. And you could look around and go, oh, the thing's not here, and go back and talk to her, or figure that somebody else has grabbed it. Or anyway, there's all different options. Things get complicated. And so it's been a good design effort. I realized that I kind of like the idea that NPCs don't know who you are until you introduce yourself, and that you don't know who they are until they introduce themselves. So that would be the point of this conversation, where I say, hi, I'm Fade, and she tells me who she is. And I would never have a name pop up for her until, I have that, which requires some data structures I haven't put in yet, but these are things I'm learning as I go. Because I like that idea, because then you could say, if she's telling you, oh, you need to go to this town and talk to Joe, and I'd be like, well, what does Joe look like? And she could describe Joe based on, the colors that were randomly generated for Joe or whatever. And that way I could know how to find Joe. He's usually here, go here, he's got blonde hair, dark skin. And then I would know how to find Joe, and I could just introduce myself and oh, yeah, I'm Joe, blah, blah, blah. So I like this idea. And I'm learning all this as I implement quests. And the cool thing is that I have hooked all this up to a dynamic script, so I can actually edit these as we go if I'm careful. So, so we could actually start implementing this stuff. Say we, if the index is 1, let's say we respond with, hi. Oh, we want to actually respond with a prompt. So let's say dialogue. Do you have any ideas for a quest? I can GPT some demo text and put it in. I'm still kind of working out the details on how I want this to work. 'Cause today's goal is to get the mechanics in place, and then I'll want random generated quests based on sort of the location. So the idea being that when the quest is randomly generated, I do a world search for nearby points of interest, and then based on the point of interest, I'll need descriptions for those points of interest so that the NPC can kind of direct you to where to go, because I would like to avoid putting map markers in. I like the option to have that, but I kind of want the players to have to look around for stuff. I don't know how much hand holding we're going to need to do. If I can describe things clearly enough, I I have strong opinions on it, and yet I understand the convenience of map markers. So we'll have to see. Um, I'm. What are we? We are target name. Okay, so that does that, and then we still want to show the prompt. Only this time we just do that and we return. Okay, so this should reload the thing. And now if I close and talk to her again, greetings strangers, do you find a day from? Hi, I'm Fade. Hi, I'm human female, because that's her name, right? And then I could say, you know, what kind of trouble, and that would take me to the same dialogue option. Okay, so see, we're starting to build out a dialogue tree, you know, sort of the hard way. And eventually I'll have like an API to make this easier, but this will function for today. I don't like that the fact that this is, let's change this to say, you said something about some trouble. So see, we can kind of work through the, and I think when we create real dialogues, this will be the easy way to, I am Fade. You said something about some trouble? Yep. And that's when she could tell me about her thing. Yeah, right, exactly. It creates its own problems, though. So if you had a map marker, for example, like map marker said, you know, I'm supposed to go exactly right here, and there's a, you know, map marker that points me right here, and I go there and there's nothing there, I can say, obviously I can say, oh, something went wrong with this quest. Either this stupid game is buggy, or, you know, somebody, maybe there could be a mark on the ground where it used to be to let you know that a player took it. Another player got it because they came here first and they saw it and they took it, or they also got the quest and they came and took it and they're about to turn it in. Maybe they got it and they don't know what it is at that point, but you knew there was a very specific X on the map and you came here and it wasn't there. And so if I don't have the X on the map, I have to be really explicit with the descriptions I give, and I have to give hints when the player gets there. I have to definitely leave the mark on the ground where the item used to be, and when you approach it and that area, I have to give you a little text in the bottom that says, oh, this is where human female said the MacGuffin would be. Sort of like talking to yourself, right? Oh yeah, I added a chat sound, by the way, because it annoyed me that when I was in blueprint editors and stuff, I couldn't see chats and I didn't know they were coming. The old Mythruna had the, this is the chat, ka-chunk, 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 ka-chunk. So I've at least made it a little less jarring. It's like a little, almost like a tambourine sound. I need to maybe make it a little louder. Anyway, so we've already got like a quest kind of on the way. I did not import the lantern. So I may need to use something else for the MacGuffin, maybe axe temporarily. All right. Oh, I mean, before we can do data structures, I gotta exit out anyway, because I gotta actually write real code. But we've got our start, and I got a whole bunch of random ladies. They could be like a Mythruna version of a K-pop group, I guess. Okay, so let's talk about, I'm tempted to leave this open while I talk about it. So here's a little insight into how I design things. And I have so many of these design files that I've started dating them, and I might actually have to start adding months to them to keep track of when I did it and how old they are. But where we want to go is here, because I was thinking about how So I create these conversations with myself where I talk about some design issue. I try to narrow down in on what I need to create as far as data structures go, and argue with myself. It's kind of a schizophrenic uh, version of rubber ducking, I guess. For those of you who don't know what rubber ducking is, it's like when you explain a problem to an inanimate object. Sometimes like the things become clear. Um, but what this does is it allows me to quickly come back up to speed with something. Like I can go back and read an old text file and go through all of my thought processes again, catch right up to what I was. Sometimes I'm smarter and I read that and I go, oh, no, that past Paul was an idiot. This is obviously the right way now, and so on and so forth. And sometimes I read it and I wish I had written more because I don't understand what I was talking about. At any rate, I highly recommend this approach if you like to write and can type fast, because again, it saved me immense time. If you look, I've got tons of these text files about different aspects of Mythruna, and so anytime I need to remember some topic I've already thought about, I can go back and I can relearn what I've already written about rivers and stuff like that. So for this, back to our idea of entity component systems from up here, I want to add a component that is a quest. So it's the quest information. And so there'll be a separate quest entity that will be associated with the NPC that gives the quest. Maybe it's part of a larger quest. And so there would be a parent quest. And then if only one person at a time can have that quest, maybe it's assigned to a specific quester. And then the status of that quest, which I imagine will be just a general integer. The other thing is, so if it's a quest that anybody can get, then what happens is the NPC owns this quest, this particular quest entity, but then it copies this to make a new quest entity for every player that it gives it out to, and then that parent quest becomes that main quest. So for example, Fade gives me, so Fade has this quest that says, let's draw Fade, right? Okay, so Fade, the Fade entity has this quest entity that points to her. She's the quest giver, and then her little MacGuffin lantern or whatever. It points to that. Was there that? No. That's right. It doesn't care about all that. It's just the quest. So it's an entity that has other things on it. So it's got the quest component that points back to her, and doesn't point to anything else because none of this is relevant. It doesn't have a parent quest, doesn't have a quester, has a status of 0, right? So it's a component that points to me, or points to her, and it has a status of 0. There's another component here, which we'll talk about in a second. It has the quest objective that points to what we're supposed to get. Anyway, when we go and talk to Fade, me, when we talk to human, sorry, she's human female. When we talk to human female, the NPC, what she'll do is she'll make a copy of this for us. And that will still point to the quest objective. It will still point back to her as the quest giver. It will point to me as the quester, and it will point to this as the parent quest. And so then when I go through and I get the quest objective, basically there's objects that can be operated upon to make this quest happen, because all this has to have custom scripting associated with it, so that when I pick up this item, something happens, and when I give the item back to her, it resolves this quest and increments the status and maybe removes the quest. So, gosh, I'm rambling. I don't know if I'm being clear. That's kind of what all this is talking about. There's this quest object which talks about that there is a quest, and then there's the quest objective, which is the object that gets the quest. And then when we pick up the item, it needs to go and execute some action on this quest objective entity. And technically, anyway. And the quest objective entity could actually be the same entity as the quest. It's basically just pointing to the quest, which could be the same entity. Anyway, that's the way components work. But I need to make these things, right? So we're halfway through the stream. I haven't coded anything, so let's do that. Sorry, I've had company over today, so I've been talking nonstop for the last few hours. So if you hear me pause for a second, it's, hey, Seamus the Slayer. Welcome to the live stream. You caught us right in the middle of starting to write a bunch of code. Yeah, exactly, right. So I can read all this and I can catch it up again. I highly recommend this approach if you're the type that can write as quickly as you think, or even sort of quickly as you think. So here, like, we got, no extra brew keeping. I have like all these conversations with myself. How does an NPC know that it already gave out a particular quest? We don't want it to generate new quests, and we'd like the dialogue options to change, so on and so forth. And so, then I come up with these conclusions. Okay, so let me make this component. Let me close a bunch of stuff. I'm trying to get better about that, because I already finished with the container stuff that I want to do for a while. Okay, so somewhere around object volume, we're going to make, I think we'll put them in a sub package, actually. Again, I'm not sure this is the right idea. And so I'm going to put this code over in its own package. And see, this is proprietary to Mythruna, not open source. Mythruna ES quest. Implements entity component. Import. So hopefully things will get exciting here in a second. Alright, so we want entity ID quest giver, entity ID parent quest, entity ID quester, and int status. We'll just make it a general int. I think I make these private when I do them. I guess I don't. They should be. Let me see. Let me find a recent one. Map marker. Private. Okay. Need a no argument constructor so that the entity system can construct these when it's loading them from persistence. And indeed, this needs to be a persistent component now that I'm thinking about it. So that we'll create automatically create a database table for it, etc. Okay, so there's the kind of quest that only has a parent, only has a quest giver. There is the kind of quest. Oops. That is a copy. I'll do that differently. Yeah, so we'll just do this. So ignore that. You were talking about documentation earlier. I am bad with taking time to write instructions after I build. I've been getting better about commenting to describe what I'm doing. That's good. It's a good practice. The only reason I haven't driven myself mad putting out Mythruna releases, for example, is because I was smart one day, and when I cut the release, I started this release instructions. So this is what I need a bot for. Watch what I build and how to do. Yeah, that might actually be something that happens before it starts writing code for us. So these are, this is the instructions I've built for how to build Mythruna, and there's a whole bunch of lessons learned in here before I cut a release. And this will only get more complicated, when I hit Steam someday and have more check boxes to go through and stuff. But it's good to have these things, and I write a lot of stuff. Anyway, let me get rid of skin tone, hair tone. Oops, object volume, container volume. We don't need any of these things open. I'm trying to keep my open files list relatively small. Don't need entity link, body config. Okay. All right, down to the minimum here. This is the unfortunate part, is I end up writing a lot of boilerplate code here. But I'm going to try to limit it to what I use first. And because there's going to be some like mechanics that have to happen. And it'll only take me a second to write all these. I'll forgo making the toString method though, or the equals and so on. Sometimes I never need those. Okay, so first thing we're going to need is a public quest create child and entity ID quester. So we're going to create a child for the so quest result equals new quest giver. It's funny, my brain reads the Q as a G, and so I try to type the G even though my brain knows and my fingers know where the Q is. So I don't have a problem typing the capital Q, but the lowercase q sometimes screws me up. Quester equals quester. Nice. Yeah, I have the PS Plus. They give me just the basic PS Plus for the PlayStation. They give me 2 free games a month, or sometimes 3. And some months it's a dry spell, but I find that I'm better when it meters it out that way. I don't get I'm trying to work on Mythruna, so I want to not play too many games, and so it's important that I don't have access to so many. Parent quest. Oh yeah, we need the parent. Parent, yeah. Okay, that should be enough. I wouldn't buy an Xbox. Oh, I see. The Game Pass on the PC. That makes sense. Okay, so we need also quest objective. And so quest objective, where's my quest minimum vial property? Here it is. All right, quest objective. So let me do this real quick. Quest objective. Okay, so quest objective. See, I stole boilerplate. So then we have the quest, and we have the objective, which could be any entity, which means it could be a target on the ground. Be a target on the ground. It could be a object, obviously. It could be an NPC, any entity in the game. Okay, don't need any of these at the moment. Quest, objective. Okay, we've got sort of the minimum components we need. Uh-oh, the Pepsi's gone. Now we're on water. All right, so save this. I think we have enough to barely get started. Let's go ahead and I'm right here. That's right. I closed so many things I don't have to go far. They're all right here on the same screen. Okay. So here's where we want to, eventually we don't want to generate the quest here, but for now we will. And so I want to make sure that the NPC only creates one quest, and so I'm going to need to look up one quest at a time. And one pattern I've chosen to start doing is create the filter methods right here. So component filter quest, find quest, what else called quest giver, entity ID quest giver. So this gives me, it eliminates a lot of boilerplate in the scripts and stuff if I can just call this to make the filter. And I'm gonna steal the filter from one of the other ones that I've done this for recently. I closed all of the, okay, what is one I've done this for recently? Wasn't race. Would it have been, I don't think it was map marker. No. Gosh. Entity link? Yes. Okay, so that let me look up the thing. I only need like to one of those. So like so this is basically a filter for, we want to filter on the quest giver. I did it again. So that'll give me a filter to look those up. And so then in my script I can say, do we already have one? Find entity. Got too many things spinning in my head at the moment. What I want to see is the base APIs. I have a find entity method. I just believe it takes a filter. Find entity, filter, and types. Yep, okay. I should have known. I should have known. Okay. We're going to want to import because it is not part of the standard imports for all scripts. The scripting engine has a set of standard imports that it does by default for all. In fact, I could just go ahead and add it and then it's not a problem. That way if I move it later. So in general, this is a bad practice for regular code, but I would argue if you're writing a scripting engine for a game, you know, you want to have as little of this crap as possible imported in every. Hey, it's my buddy Scott. He happened to catch us during a boring part here. Um, so he Scoots. We call him Scoots. That's why he calls me Poots. He's a buddy of mine, and he was visiting. That's why my voice is a little shot from talking all night. Okay, so quest giver, target. So we're going to see if we already have one. And if we do, let's just echo. I already told you. But echo won't work here. We have to do this thing. This is not a full object environment here, which is why I don't have the ability to do. I already told you. Okay, and then we return. Okay, and if we don't have a quest, let's create one. So create an entity, and we want to give it new quest giver, and we want to give it a name. Oh, not object name, just name. Find the MacGuffin. In fact, we can say, I already told you quest name, and there's logic in there. It will look up the name. All right, so we created the quest on that. We created the entity, we created a quest, and we shouldn't have to create one again. So let's go ahead and tell the player that we already created one. Can you find the MacGuffin? Okay. Shall we see if it works? I'm sure I've forgotten something. Whoa! Lots of spelling errors. Pertinent component. Yes. It's important that if you're going to spell things incorrectly that you cut and paste it at least once. Okay, and then objective. And what was the other thing? That's it. Well, Mr. Scott Trescott, I'm glad you made it back okay from your drive. All right. Whoops. Okay. Continue the last world. Okay, so what we should see is that when I click on a particular NPC and I say, you know, what's the trouble, it should create the quest and then or reload the existing one for each NPC. And I'm kind of screwing myself because I didn't give it a quest objective yet. So I'm going to only do this with one NPC because I'm going to have to delete that NPC because they'll be in a weird state. Okay, it's too dark. Let's step forward in time a little bit. Okay. All right, so let's delete the blonde girl in a minute. Okay, so we're going to ask her, hello, what kind of trouble? Can you find the MacGuffin? Okay, so if I come back, what kind of trouble? I already told you, find the MacGuffin. Okay, so that part's working. And now we can delete her because she's permanently stuck in a state where we cannot use that. Okay, so what we want to do is create the MacGuffin. I think we're going to create an axe. So we're going to have to create the quest, but we're going to create the item first. Let me see what my standard tools.groovy create sword. Okay, but those actually have their Aha. So if I look at the base objects, I've already, okay, so here, nope, it's going to be in standard objects. No. Test objects. So test objects is going to have a axe. Let's use the axe. Yeah, okay. And how do I want to do this? Alright, so we want to... Well, fortunately, I can cheat a little bit. So let's not create the quest yet. Let's create the entity. First, we'll figure out what her position is, which is going to be target, spawn position, location. Let's just log it to make sure. Okay, so we ought to be able to click on her. What kind of trouble? Oops. Something didn't like it. Can I get property name on null object? Oh, yeah. It's down here. I haven't created the quest yet, so I can't look at it. Okay. Let's try this again. Okay. Oh. Yeah, I gotta actually click on the thing. Kind of trouble. Okay, so that should have logged a position. Yep. Okay. So then we will create an axe somewhere, off of that position. Add at that random times 5 times 6 minus 3. Let's raise it up 5 in the air for now. I'm just trying to place it somewhere nearby, plus or minus 3 away from her, and then we're going to create McGuff, create entity. So we want to look up the type. I think that works. Actually, I can tell you. Nice thing about running this live is we can just check everything as we go. Okay, so renew thing. Boink. Oops. Boink. What kind of trouble? Okay, so we look at here. Where to go? There it is. Axe type. Cool. We got it. All right, so we can create the entity. We want to. So every one of these standard types tells you what its shape is. So I ought to be able to get the shape. Yep, shape from the type. So we get axe type shape. Again, let's just confirm and that I'm not being stupid. Oops. Okay. Let's look at it again. The only downside to this is that I have a lot of logging going on. Oops. So I screwed something up. type. I think it's probably I have to call get type var. Yeah. Okay. Let's try get type var shape. Boop, 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 boop. What kind of trouble? Well, it didn't crash. That's a good sign. Shape info shape. Okay. Yep, that's working. All right. So this is what we want to do. The shape. New spawn position. New mass. We'll make it a physical object so that it will fall down. Object type info. Let's see if object type wrapper will tell me. If not, it should. Not here. Object type wrapper. The type name. Huh. Interesting. Sorry, I'm relearning my API, and this is where I would... Yeah, see, it's supposed to give me the actual object type. All right. I'm wasting time. Object type info create ax. Okay, so we gotta, let's give it a name. Let's say target. And I'm not using name on purpose. I want the entity ID to show up. Ax, okay. What else does it need? It needs a, so it's got a shape, it's got a position, it's got mass, it's got an object type, which means we can treat it like an ax. It's going to fall around the world, so object name. I think that's all we need, but I'm going to double check one thing, because the only other place I think in the game right now that I create, oh, that's the wrong place, that I create objects in the world is in the dungeon prototype stuff. Dungeon1.groovy, and we create, let's see, where do we create some entities? I could look. Alright, let's, okay. I create just from the type and then I call initialize. I wish I'd done that with more things. But that only gets a name and a shape. We probably should be, I think we're good. Well, we'll know right away. That's the beauty of having the live edit feature. Okay, so we've got the, alright. And we're already dark again, so let's turn the lights back on. Let's pause the thing. Okay, let's talk to her. And what kind of trouble? Alright, did it create the thing or did it, nope, it borked. Okay. Cannot find matching constructor for spawn position. Oh yeah. Spawn position. These are all things I should be documenting in my document. Oh, so I need at least a rotation, and then it will do the nice thing for me. Okay. Can't just create a position without a rotation, apparently. Okay. Alright. Let's talk to you again. What kind of trouble? Oh, another problem. No signature, entity ID plus. Oh. That's a groovyism. All right. Hello, Lando. Better late than never, eh? Okay. Glad you could join us. Hey, I just saw an axe fall. Hey, check it out. All right, so if we look at it, this is that entity's axe, human female's axe. Okay, now we can't do anything with it. We shouldn't be allowed to delete it either. So we need to have a take. Haha, nice. So we need to have a take before we can really implement the thing. But so we're starting to get to where we need to be. We can actually really quickly... trying to think how much I can do without restarting the game. Because what I want to do is create quest acts. But I'm going to have to restart for that. So, yeah, so that's the unfortunate thing. Because I haven't implemented standard take mechanics, like you can't drop the things in your inventory and pick them back up again. Then I have to make a special quest object type just for testing. So let's go to test objects, and I can't add a type where I'm doing that. Okay, so somewhere down here is the NPC. Yep, so we're going to create a type, quest acts, and super types, acts. Okay, and then action, oops. We're going to make a take action. No args, or it won't be XO. I think I already have a take somewhere I can steal. It's in the dungeon one. So let's go look at the prototype for that. Okay, so the exit platform can't be taken. The... Interesting. So that's the other thing, is I don't have like automatic inventory placement. Let me see what we can steal from this. So so picking up the object. Find the backpack. Sure. Need to find an empty spot, or not allowed to be backed up, but we're just going to stick it somewhere. Because there's actually no room for the it's funny that I picked this particular object as a MacGuffin, because there's no room in our inventory for it. So the object we remove its shape, basically. We set its shape. We set its mass, and we move its spawn position. Okay. If the player isn't holding anything right now, then equip it. No, we don't want to equip the axe. And then we'll run on taken. And we only do this... Nope. Doesn't have to be ours. It has to be not contained in anybody. So can only pick up the objects that originally belonged to the player and is not currently contained. Okay, so it's not being held by anybody already, which saves us from, if two players try to pick it up at the same time, only one will win. Okay, so we retrieved the object quest axe. And we should be good to go. Okay, so then we can go back over here. Alright, and instead of axe, we want to be messing with quest axe. Okay, let's see what we got. So it should have a take now. I should be able to pick it up. I kind of wanted to get to the point where all of the quest stuff was wired up to the point where we could create the item. The NPC would know it had the quest. The NPC would know it gave us the quest, and so on. What row? No signature methods, super types. Oh, I did something wrong. But I don't know if we're going to get to everywhere I wanted to be tonight because I rambled a little bit. Super types. Oh, super types with a lowercase t. Alright. This is why we can't have nice things. Oh, I ate too much tonight. Alright, let's see if we got this working now. Alright, what time of day is it? Hey, it's daytime already. Good. Okay. So let's talk to her again. Alright. Boink. What kind of trouble? Okay, somewhere an axe just dropped on the ground, right? Or did... Yep, there it is. Okay. I found it! Oh yeah, so the default would be to take. We can look at it. Yep, that's the quest axe. Okay. Take it. Oh! So is it in my inventory? Ruh-roh. No, it is not. It disappeared from the world. I really need to get rid of this second. Where did it go? Alright. Anyway, that's actually, now I think about it, that's not necessary to do what I want to do. Although that's a problem that take doesn't work. And now the entity is nowhere. It's just a database entry that does not exist anywhere. And I haven't debugged why that is. I put it in 18.0. Did we not find a backpack? Okay. Yeah, I'd have to restart to do that. So let's don't do that. Let's not worry about that for now. Okay, so we created the MacGuffin. Taking doesn't work, but that doesn't mean anything. We can still finish making the quest. Okay. So find we can actually make this MacGuff name. So find yeah, that's interesting. Alright, let's just leave it. Find the MacGuffin. Quest target. And now we need also quest objective. And the quest objective had the quest, which we're creating, we can't do that yet. Okay. Okay, so we're gonna put the I think I'm going to make the semantics that if it's null, if the quest is null, that means that the entity we're on is the quest entity. I think that'll be easier. And so then the objective is the MacGuffin we just created, okay? And so I need to be, more complicated with my descriptions and so on and so forth. And then so we've created that quest, and now I need to create the quest for the player, right? And so we're going to, you know what, I'm creating global variables when I do that, So that's the quest that the NPC has for anybody who now comes to talk to that NPC that isn't us. But we also need to create the quest on the player, and for that, okay. Now I'm gonna change these names. It's just gonna make me more sane. Quest entity. Okay. So quest entity, we create the quest. Quest objective. And, I really could have used a copy entity. Because this is basically, I wanted to copy these 3 components, or 2 components, anyway. And we want to create a child. Create a child quest with the parent quest entity and me as the quester. So create child quest. Create child. Just create child. Okay, with the original quest entity as the quest, and then me. Who am I? Session activator. Right. Session activator. Resolve entity. I'm not sure that I'm actually an entity at that point. So let's be sure. Okay. Oh, bad things. Objective. I spelled it wrong. Okay, so that should whoop whoop whoop. Nasal demons. Okay, so there's already a quest. Oh yeah, up here. Okay, is that gonna work? No. Quest entity is already created. Okay, that's why I didn't have a def before, because I was reassigning a variable. Okay, so that is there. Let's make it bright outside again. Alright, let's get the quest again. This time it should create it for real. What kind of trouble? Oh, there it goes. Did we actually create a problem here? Rutrow. Resolve entity ID. Uh-oh. So that's the problem when we have a bug. think it's resolve entity ID. So I'm going to have to temporarily remove my return. You'll see why. What's it called? Resolve entity ID, yeah, so I just screwed up, that's all. Reference to when getting undefined behavior in code. Oh, nasal demons. Ha ha ha. Okay. So we will, if crap. We'll temporarily, I don't know if I actually have it. So we'll temporarily do that so that we can redo the quest. We'll go ahead and remove this axe. Oops. I missed. There we go. Alright, let's try this again. Hello, human female. What kind of trouble? I already told you. There it goes. Okay, did we... Nope, we errored out again. And we errored out... I know why we errored out. I'm just looking line 132. Okay, so we errored out at the end. We're good. This should have been like that. We're good. So now, like, trying to think how best to do this next bit. We should so if we have a shell command test, I think that's still set up. And shell command test command. Testing 1, 2, 3. All right, let's see if that test command is still there. I wanted to be able to list our quests. Was it not? Oh yeah, it can't. Okay. It can't echo back to the player, so it logged it. Yeah, I need to calm the jets of the... Yeah, so here it is back up here. Testing 1, 2, 3. Okay, so it is running this command. And what was the event? Let's stop the scrolling for a second. Player event. Good, we've got our player. Event.player. Alright, so we should be able to look up all of the quests that are assigned to us. And unfortunately I didn't create a filter for that, so I'm going to steal some code. So filters quest. No, we want the quester. Event.player. Okay, and then we're going to find entities, filter, quest.class. So we'll find all of the quest entities. And we're going to log quest. Alright, so we can do that. Redefines that command. And then we should be able to say test and see those. Whoa! Bad news. Field filter. Okay, so applicable for argument types, field filter. Oh. I missed a each. There we go. Oops. There we go. All right, let's try it again. Woo! Check it out. So this is, it knows that we have a quest. So we've got that quest assigned to us, which means when I add the journal entry here, I could have a journal which lists our current quests. I still have to figure out why take is not putting these in our inventory. And you know what, if I organize better, I actually could fit a second axe in there. So that's a bug I'll find on my own time. But basically we've got the quest mechanics working. I can come in here and I can tell her, you know, what kind of trouble. She will generate a quest. That will make an axe fall somewhere. You know, eventually we'll, yeah, there it is. So eventually, you know, we'll find a cave or a point of interest to hide that in. And she'll have to tell me where it is, and I'll have to go find it. And I have to figure out why take isn't working. I have to add a journal so that we can see what our current quests are. I have to give these NPCs that I generate not only random colors, but random names, so that it's not just human female, but she actually has a name. But that's all for this weekend. That's all for tonight that I'm going to do, but I'm going to do all that other stuff this weekend. Maybe if there's demand, I can do some other live streams during the week, because I'm off from day job work until the 4th, I think. So it's all Mythruna all the time, other than family stuff. So hopefully you guys will see a lot of progress. Again, the upper corner, that's where you can download the game. There's also there's a link to the Discord in there. If you're not already a member of the Discord, you should join, because we have conversations there, and there's a good group of people. And I think this is where I'll end it tonight. I think we made good progress. Hopefully you learned some things. Hopefully it was semi-entertaining. If you're working on your own projects, I hope you have a lot of inspiration and motivation combined together. That's often really good. And that is where I'll stop it. I hope you guys have a great holiday, whatever holiday you celebrate. I'm just doing stuff with my family here at home. Thanks for watching. Thanks for spending your pre-holiday time with me tonight. And I look forward to seeing you next week. Same bat time, same bat channel, etc. And thanks for watching.